Good evening and welcome to the Strand. I'm Christina Foxley, the Director of Events, and I'm so pleased to welcome acclaimed author Christopher Bram and publisher Don Wisey to the Strand. Christopher Bram joins us tonight to discuss his first collection of nonfiction, Mapping the Territories, featuring essays he has written over the past 25 years. Chris is the author of 9 novels. His 5th novel, Gods and Monsters, was made into an Oscar-winning movie. He was a Guggenheim Fellow and winner of the Bill Whitehead Award for Lifetime Achievement. Tony Kushner has called him one of the best novelists writing in the world today. Joining Chris tonight is Don Wisey, publisher of Allison Books, the world's oldest and largest publisher of LGBT literature. Following their discussion, Chris and Don will take your questions. Please wait for this microphone, as we'll need to hear you. Chris will then sign copies of his book for you, which you can purchase downstairs on your way out of the store. Please join me in welcoming Don Wisey and Christopher Bram to the stage.
Well, go ahead. I think we're going to start with just Chris reading and me sitting here. And when he's finished, we'll do a few questions, and then we'll take questions from the audience. So,
well, did you want to
talk about what the book is? Or
oh, well, okay. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. And a special thanks to the Strand and to Paul Secor and Christina and Ariel for this is great to be here. The Strand is one of my 3 favorite bookstores in the city, but Oscar Wilde's closed, so it's one of my 2 favorite bookstores in the city, and it's really great to be here. So I thought I'd begin by reading a little bit first. The book is called Mapping the Territory, and it's essays I've written over the years. And they were all kind of personal essays. They were done more for love than money, so they ended up accidentally being autobiographical. I didn't intend it that way, but when I put them together, I found, wow, these really tell a story. So I thought what I might read a little bit from tonight is an essay I wrote called A Body in Books, which is sort of the 13 books that made me a homosexual. And just kind of wanted to figure it's an appropriate piece to read when we're in a bookstore. So let me just kind of jump into that and read you a little bit of that. Yeah. The culture at large regularly instructs people on how to be heterosexual. Movies, television, popular music, and advertising are about almost nothing else. But gay men and women, at least until recently, have had only books to help them find or invent or test their identities. A college professor recently wrote that a gay identity is often a literary construct, which set me thinking about the books I read on my way to becoming who I am. What were they? How did I read them? What did I take from these words and stories? This is an experiment in literary self-criticism, a memoir in a reading list, an autobibliography. All gay readers have their own lists of titles. I expect mine will make you think of yours. Number 1, An End to Innocence by Leslie Fiedler. The title is too appropriate. I am still amazed that I read Fiedler so early, when I was 16. But his essays about the Rosenbergs and Alger Hiss meant nothing to me. No, what I found startling was a piece titled Come Back to the Raft Again, Huck Honey. It was 1968, my first year as a counselor at Camp Kiwanis, a Boy Scout camp on the James River. One rainy morning, all activities were suspended, and I hung out with some other counselors in the staff lounge, a cinder block hut with a cement floor. Someone, I never discovered who, had left a battered paperback on the mattress we used as a sofa. I picked it up, noticed an essay on Huckleberry Finn, and immediately began to read, simply because it was about literature. One didn't get much literature at Camp Kiwanis, but these pages went deeper than mere books. Come Back to the Raft is the notorious essay where Fiedler first proposed that a dominant theme of American literature is the flight of the white man from female civilizations in the arms of his dusky male lover. Huck and Jim, Natty Bumppo and Chinkacook, never been able to pronounce his name, Ishmael and Queequeg. Fiedler never comes right out and calls them homosexuals, but uses the gentler, more chaste word, to my eye anyway, homoerotic. What he's actually saying, and makes clear in Love and Death in the American Novel, is that this is a failing of American literature, which is crippled by its disdain for healthy heterosexual love. But that wasn't noticed by a skinny scout in glasses, green shorts and knee socks, who sat reading on the mattress with his mouth half open. What struck and amazed me, and I wondered if I were reading it correctly, was the discovery that my crushes and curiosities, my fondness for Al Wygant and desire to take a shower whenever he took a shower, were not just peculiar to me or a sickness I shared with a few perverts, but was an American theme, major theme of American literature, as American as Huck Finn. Number 4, Good Times, Bad Times by James Kirkwood. We take what we need where we find it, and commercial fiction often speaks louder than literature. This 1968 novel was first shown to me in study hall by Laura Lee Bond, a tomboyish folk singer in my church youth group. It's a prep school novel where the chaste romantic friendship of two boys is treated as clean and beautiful, in contrast to the dirty lusts of the closeted headmaster. Late in the book, the headmaster gets drunk and gives the narrator a back rub. The boy pretends to be asleep, while the man spills rubbing alcohol in his back, works his way down, then pulls off his pajama bottoms. The boy keeps his eyes squeezed shut and tries to will away his erection. It was the sexiest thing I'd ever read. This was the scene that Laura Lee showed me in study hall. I was too electrified by the rub-down, however, to wonder what Laura Lee was testing. I feigned mild amusement, returned the book to her, then went straight to the shopping center the next day and bought my own copy. Good Times, Bad Times is another of those gay stories where one of the lovers must die before the story ends. Here it's a conveniently weak heart, if I remember right. But I knew that was only for the sake of the story. I believe that two boys could love each other without one of them dropping dead. Number 8, Remembrance of Things Past by Marcel Proust. I attempted to climb this mountain range in high school, but could not make head or tail of it. Unable to picture the clothes or furniture, I wasn't even sure what century it took place in. But sophomore year in college, I read it, the whole damn thing. It took me the entire year, with a break in the middle for something lighter, Anna Karenina. Proust was profoundly important to me. He remains important, although not for his detailed account of gay underground life. Even then, I did not believe his famous chapter about Sodom in Cities of the Plain. This was the Scott Moncrief translation. All I took from those bleak pages was the story of two friends in the country who meet at a crossroads one night and make love in the grass. One man marries, the other doesn't, but both live unhappy, dishonest lives. I didn't care about their unhappiness, however. I just wanted a friend who'd meet me at the crossroads, which I pictured as a moonlit country lane at Camp Kiwanis. Now, what I learned from Proust, what I took from his book that shaped my understanding of love and my sexuality, was his recognition of the mentalness of the world, the elasticity of reality, a poetry of deep subjective space. I'm not sure how to explain it. I didn't fully recognize the sensibility until 10 years later when I reread The Monster in the revised translation by Terence Kilmartin and saw how much my feelings about love and reality had been shaped by Proust. Perhaps it can be best summed up by the idea that the great dramas of life are all interior, which is a dangerous way to think. It can send you tumbling down the rabbit hole of self. It can lock you in the closet with all your pretty emotions. I was thrilled by the new colors this Proustian poetry added to my infatuations, the literary halo it gave to such stupid acts as following Kevin What's-His-Name, a sullen, nerdy accounting major, across campus without him seeing me. I knew Kevin was nobody's romantic ideal, not even my own. But infatuation wasn't subjective. It was my own creation, a work of art far more exciting than the short stories I was writing. The trick, of course, is to get your story to write a similar story about you, which is not damned likely. Now that I think about it, the year I read Proust was my most melancholy time since the onset of puberty, and the most repressed. It was also the year that I started sleeping with women. Proust was a retreat into the self, a huge step backward, but perhaps one I needed before I could finally take a leap forward. Number 10. End as a